So I've been thinking of the story of Adam and Eve, the fall of mankind. God gives Adam and Eve a test. He puts a tree in the garden, and he tells them not to eat of it. It's not an apple tree, it's not an orange tree, it's not a banana tree, it's not a coconut tree or that type of tree. It's a tree of knowledge. So right away, the sin of mankind, the reason that mankind fell, was eating of a tree of knowledge. Why is knowledge forbidden? Why does God not want us to have knowledge? Now, there's a couple things that have always bothered me about this story. God forbids Adam and Eve to eat of a tree of knowledge. But it's the knowledge of good and evil. So they're completely innocent. All they really did was a single act of disobedience. That was it. That was their huge folly. And in and of itself, it doesn't seem like that horrendous of a crime. I mean, so they ate of a tree of knowledge. And they didn't even do it. They didn't do it to try to piss off God. They weren't doing it, you know. It wasn't like Adam killed Eve or, you know, Adam was torturing small animals or something. All he did, he was curious. And he was tricked into doing it. A much older, a much smarter creation, Satan, came along and tricked Adam into eating of the tree. And how did Satan trick Adam? He told him if he ate of the tree, then he would be like God. And he would know good from evil. So, God came along and punished Adam and Eve for eating of this tree. Because apparently wanting to be like God and wanting to have knowledge are like the two worst things you could do. This has always bothered me. God, Jehovah, He was their parent. Adam and Eve didn't have parents. Jehovah was their parent. What child doesn't want to be like their parents? What child isn't curious? What child doesn't yearn for knowledge? And yet this is the reason why mankind fell, is because they wanted to be like God and they wanted knowledge, and they were tricked by a being that had knowledge of good and evil. So an innocent creation who wants to be like their parent and who wants knowledge ends up suffering, and all their offspring for eternity has to suffer. Man has to plow the fields. Women has pain at childbirth. All because we dared to want to be like God. Adam and Eve wanted to be like God. If God's so great, then how could He really blame His innocent creation for being tricked and for wanting to be like Him? It would seem perfectly reasonable they'd want to be like God. I mean, why wouldn't they want to be? If God's so awesome, who wouldn't want to be like Him? Why would He punish people for wanting to be like Him? It makes no sense to me. What they did wasn't inherently evil. They were curious, and it's a simple act of disobedience. What's so great about just being obedient? Obedience to God. Well, you know, they had no... Their motive for disobeying wasn't evil. They weren't harming anybody. All they did was simply disobey, which in and of itself does not seem so wrong, especially the fact that they were tricked and they were curious and they wanted to be like God. I am repeating myself, so I will basically just end this, but yeah, it's always bothered me. It doesn't seem like a fair test.